Hello, Winners Inner Circle. This is Dialect Coach Chris Lang coming at you today. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's doing real well. Um, I would love to interact with you guys today, answer all your questions. I'm here today specifically. Wendy invited me to come on and chat with all of you a bit, talking about accents, accent training, why accent training is important right now in the industry. It has been for a little while, but it's becoming ever more and more important as new stories are being told and written that involve accents and people who are speaking in accents other than say American accents or maybe versions of American accents. So it's actually really important right now that accent training is a part of your toolbox and your skill set when it comes to being a good set up professional actor who can really attack the industry and do well. Let me introduce myself if you don't know. So, again, my name's Chris Lang. I'm a DCW verified dialect coach. What that means is I've gone through a process with dialect coaches worldwide where I've been vetted, verified, and essentially, certified, if you will, in a way that as a professional accent coach for actors in this business. Uh, a little bit about me and my training so you know where I come from. I have an MFA in voice and speech pedagogy, the teaching of voice and speech. That word freaks people out a lot, even myself, to be honest. Voice and speech pedagogy from Harvard University and the Moscow Art Theater School, where I received all my training in acting and accents and dialects. And I've been doing this for over a decade. In this business working with actors, my primary goal with everybody that I work with, all the actors who come to me, I want you to become excellent accent actors, powerhouse accent actors, people who can enter this business and really change the way things are done and the way stories are told with excellent accent acting. That is my goal for every single person that I work with. And how does that happen? I'll get into that. What does that process look like? I'll talk a little bit about that as well. If you've never worked with an accent coach, or even if you have, I think it's important to know what that process looks like so that when you do engage with somebody like me or even with me, you know pretty much what you're, what you can expect and you can be prepared to get the most out of that experience for your career. I will be opening up this Facebook Live to a Q&A at the end, but in any case, you should feel free, jump on the comments, say hello, say hi. I want to know that you're there and that we're chatting and talking, and I usually can see the comments on Facebook Live, though sometimes it doesn't show me. So if you said hi or whatever, and I don't say hi back, I probably just can't see it. Or even if you have a question. So I do know that I will be opening it up to a Q&A at the very end. But if you have any questions throughout this entire process that I'm chatting with you and talking with you, you should absolutely hop on and ask your question. I'll do my best to, take them as they come, but I may wait until the end. So if I have not answered your question, by the time we get to the Q&A, make sure to remind me, pop it back in the comments, and I will say hello and answer your question as best I can. I see AJ Stratton's here. Hi, AJ. Thanks for joining me today. Glad to see you're here. So let's see here. I also want to give a real big shout out to Wendy. Wendy is sort of the source of a lot of great stuff happening in this business right now, especially Winners Inner Circle, TMFA page, things of that nature. And just a big shout out. Thank you for inviting me on. I love helping actors. I know, Wendy, you're real passionate about helping actors as well. And so I just want to say, go team us. I think we're, lots of cool stuff is going to happen here. Kylie, hello. I see you said hi. Hi. Thanks for joining. So why now? Let's talk about this. Why now? Why should we look at making accent training especially important to us in this moment? Couple of reasons why this is so. Obviously, most of us are stuck at home right now because of this delightful little virus that's challenging our world. And so, being stuck at home and things like that, it's a little bit hard to put our focus on our acting training and our career, in these times. And that's understandable for sure. Very understandable in a lot of ways. But now is the perfect time, actually, to put more focus on it if we can. More focus. There's no deadlines. We're not dealing with deadlines of casting. We don't have auditions right now to really prep for in an urgent way. Agents and managers, again, kind of submissions, everything's just a little bit on hold. So we have the luxury of time right now, great luxury of time, where we can invest in this training. The good news is that, the business will get back to it eventually. And when it does, you better believe it's going to go gangbusters. It's going to be, the projects that have been put on hold that people are passionate about making, these things will come back and are definitely going to move forward at probably will be an accelerated pace. And we need to be ready when that happens. And so because you have the time now, it's an ideal situation for you to really invest in some sort of training. And accent training lends itself to these situations quite a bit. And AJ, I just saw your question. What accent training do you think every actor should have? And that is a wonderful question. Actually, it is the question. What kind of accent training should every actor aspire to have? The short answer to that, which I'll give right now, and then I'm actually going to expand on it as I get into the rest of my notes that I kind of want to talk you through. The kind of accent training that every actor should have is from a professional dialect coach. If possible, from DCW, verified professional dialect coach. That way you can be sure that you are getting the highest level quality professional training from somebody who knows how to help you get from A to Z in your accent journey, to help you integrate that accent into your acting in a successful way so that you can expand castability for yourself and book more jobs. That's the end goal. Want you to book more jobs. So in terms of the training that you want to get for yourself, you want to work, if possible, one-on-one in a lot of cases with a good professional level dialect coach. I say professional level dialect coach because there is out there some category of people who have, sort of hung out their shingle and created a website for themselves as accent coaches, who are usually what we call helpful hobbyists. These are people who, in their own world, usually as an actor, they have sort of affinity for accents or a passion for accents themselves, but they do not themselves possess professional level training that is significant enough and specific enough to help actors achieve that next level, and to, again, gain that kind of, I'll use the word again, professional level training that actors will need to be able to learn accent acquisition skills, to learn specific accents for themselves, and then to book more jobs, to be better accent actors. So that's the biggest thing I'll say, and I'm going to dive more into that. So AJ, thank you so much for that question. Appreciate it. So back to why now is the best time for all of this. Again, accent training is uniquely suited for a time like this. The biggest reason this is so is because accent training happens online. I would say that for the last 8 or 9 years, probably, most of the accent training that is done in Hollywood has happened over Skype or Zoom or some other version of online streaming like that. We started doing this when I was exclusively living in LA. Remember, for myself, because I started not liking all my clients having to sit in traffic to get to me. Everyone was late. It was just it was a hassle. And then if I went to them, I had to charge a little extra to travel and things of that nature. And again, I got stuck in traffic. So we started doing this online, and it turns out it's actually better, stronger, easier to do accent training online. Couple of things that happen here. First thing is, it's easier to demonstrate things to you, the actor, online. My webcam is right here. I'm pointing at it right there, that guy. And there's things I can demonstrate to you in my vocal track that I will need you to do that are easier to do actually in a more detailed way on the webcam. It's a little weird in real life if I'm pressed up against your face and trying to stare down my tongue and all sorts of things like that. So it's better if we do this online. That's thing number one. Thing number two, which I love, maybe my favorite thing about it, is that we get to do this from the comfort of our own homes. I'm here in my office at home. You can be in your office at home. Scheduling is easier because of that, for sure. We can be more flexible in a lot of ways. The third thing is that because it's being streamed live, I use Zoom myself, find I get better audio and video quality than Skype and things like that. But with Zoom, I get to record all of our sessions together. And this is really great because then everything we work on together in our sessions, you get to take with you and work on with me again in the recording. So every exercise, every demonstration that I do, every piece of material or accent sample or model that I show you, you can relive again with me in the recording. And that when practicing, you actually have a more directed, efficient practice because you know that you're targeting in the right directions and things of that nature. So it's actually really, really useful. We find that your ability to progress faster is enabled because you get to review these recordings and you get to work in these more efficient ways in between sessions. So now is the perfect time for accent training to become a part of your life in a lot of ways. No deadlines. It's online anyway, and you're at home. So these things all kind of line up. The stars have aligned, hopefully, for us in this way. But ultimately, let's think about why accent training is important for you. Why? I just saw Carol chimed in. Hi, Carol. Yeah, accent classes online, the best. Well, hands down, one of the best ways I think for us to interact these days. The world's much smaller because we can interact all over the world right away, and online classes are a great way for us to do this. So, why is accent training important? I mentioned this just a minute ago, but important because accent training increases your castability. I'm going to say this, it's very important. So tune in, write this down. If you're going to write it down in red marker, circle it, tape it to your wall, tape it to a mirror, wherever you can see this. Everyone has an accent. Everyone has an accent. Third time, everyone has an accent. This is important because in real life, if you speak out loud with language, or even if you speak in sign language with your hands, you speak with an accent. And your accent says a lot about you. It says a lot of cool information about you. It tells us about where you're from, your social group that you're a part of. It's a big part of your identity, how you identify yourself as yourself, how you identify yourself to the world and other people, and these sorts of things. Accent's a big part of that identity. And you have one, and everybody has one. And because you come with an accent baked into your cake, and because it says so much about your own identity and how you interact with the world, and so on and so forth, every single character you ever play also has an accent, and also has that identity information built into them. And so every character you play has an accent, and those accents aren't necessarily your accent. They're probably, some cases, like your accent, maybe even your accent from time to time. But mostly, they're going to be different in a lot of ways. And accent training is a way for you to open up that sort of opportunity there to figure out, okay, where are the different ways that I can go with this? How can I dive into the possibilities of where am I castable? How could I open this up? And so, accent training is very important just for the longevity of your career and opening up your casting opportunities because you have an accent and every character you play has an accent and they won't necessarily be like yours. I speak right now, you're listening to me talk. I have a mostly general American accent with features from West Texas, where my mom's side of the family is from, and upstate New York, where my dad's side of the family is from. I grew up in Colorado, so that's what you hear. And so, if I just want to play people from Colorado who have that past, I'm golden. Or just want to play people who have general American accents, boom, sign me up. But my background, ethnic background, all that is Scotch, Irish, English, a little bit of Czechoslovakian, things of that nature. I could also play those roles. So I need to have those accents available to me as well to be cast in the roles. If you're not from America, if you're a Brit, an Aussie from anywhere in Europe, South America, Asia, any place, in this world, and you want to play American roles and be cast in those roles, which is, I suspect, a big part of why you would come to America and study acting here and get into the industry here, then you also need to have the ability to access American accents for yourself. So accent training is a big part of that, and it just doesn't happen on its own. You'll see in a lot of Facebook groups and things like that, advice being given about, check out these accent resources. You just go on YouTube and copy it, and do a lot of mimicry. That sadly is not quite sufficient for accent training. If it were, it'd be a lot easier and those sorts of things. But here's what I'll say. If it were just a matter of mimicking so you could gain an accent that way, we'd all be, again, we'd be in a position that's a lot easier in a lot of ways. But the industry in the last 5, 10 years has really expanded its kinds of storytelling. There's a lot more diverse stories being told today, and it's wonderful. It's actually freaking great that this is happening. We're seeing a lot of more diversity in the kinds of films and TV shows that are being made, the languages being made in, the accents that are involved because there's other languages and other places and types of people. A lot more diversity these days. And so because there's this push for diversity in the industry, it's really important that our accents are accurate and authentic and reflect the actual people in this world who speak like we're trying to represent in these stories. We owe it to them to honor and celebrate and, create these accents in these stories that tell their story in a way that is beneficial for them in general and for us as an industry and as artists. So it's really crucial that we, don't just scratch the surface and kind of live in this land of I can, just listen to YouTube a bunch and I'll mimic this thing. But we need to be really detailed and authentic and come after that identity of the people who actually speak like this, own that for ourselves in a way so that we can authentically portray them in those stories. So it's really, really important to do that. And let me just check my notes to make sure I'm getting everything I wanted to say to you guys. And keep the questions coming. AJ, definitely add this to your character development list. Accent is so fundamental to our own personal identity that for the character, think about how fundamental their accent is for any character you play. It's crucial. It's at the root of it in a lot of ways. And we can tell a lot about a person, based on how they talk, past history, everything like that. So it's a really rich and fertile ground to mine and dig into and let your curiosity and wonder sort of get attached to it as an artist. What would inspire you as part of an accent, working with a character? These sorts of things are all kind of there for you. So let's see. I'm going to move on to talk a little bit about what you're going to learn with an accent coach. I don't take for granted that everybody has studied with a voice and speech teacher or with an accent coach or a dialect coach of any sort before. So, and before you do, I'm sure there's a lot of questions like, how do I even find the right coach for myself? What the heck do I even do? How do I make sure that I'm working with a good professional dialect coach? So, let me tackle that first. How do I find the right kind of coach? When you look for an accent coach, be prepared to do all of your due diligence. You're going to Google a lot of stuff. You're going to be looking at a lot of websites. You're going to be talking on the phone with a lot of coaches potentially, just to get to know them and to see if you can get to know their skill set and things like that. It's really important that you do this because the coach that you find, you want that coach to be your key dialect coach. This is the coach that you will be working with, hopefully for the rest of your career. Because once you find a good coach, a good professional coach to work with, you want them on your team in the same way that your agent and manager, publicist, all these other things. Because your key dialect gets to know you and your process. And you get to know them and that process. And so that when you come to them in the last minute saying, hey, Netflix just called me for this audition in 2 days, I need to be Swedish. I've never been Swedish before. Then you have the ability, because you work with that coach all the time and they work with you, to really make that process more efficient and to be able to get there in 2 days for that audition in a way that, again, books you the job. So you want to find a good key dialect coach that you're going to be working with then for a long term. How do you find that dialect coach again? So again, due diligence is a big part of it. But wonderfully, dialectcoaches.com. Pamela Vanderway has been a Hollywood dialect coach for over 20 years and has now set up a process where she's in the business of pairing the right coach with the right production or actor. So she has a whole list of sort of coaches that she can talk to you about what your needs are, how you work, your personality, all sorts of things, and what you're actually looking to do, and make sure she can pair you with the right professional coach, because she vets all of her coaches. She watches them coach. She makes sure that they have the right skills. She does all sorts of legwork on that to make sure that when you get a coach through her, you're getting a true pro who can really help you, again, book more jobs. That's the goal there. So in terms of finding a coach, anytime somebody, wants to know how to do that, I say go to Pamela at dialectcoaches.com. She's going to be a good resource for you and will help you find the right coach. You can come talk to me. I'm happy to talk you through it as well. I'd love to work with all of you for sure. But I understand that every person's a little bit different and will work different with different coaches. So I don't take for granted that I'm necessarily the perfect fit for every actor. So in the same way, not every acting coach is the perfect fit for every actor. So do your good due diligence, and I would say check out Pamela Vanderway at dialectcoach.com. You can also reach out to me. I'm happy to help. So when you find that coach, what kinds of things can you expect to do with that coach? I think your coach is likely to teach you an amalgamation of a bunch of the next following thing I'll describe to you. And every coach, again, has slightly different perspectives and ways in and ways of talking about it, but usually they're going to be, everything they'll teach you is covered under the following. They're going to teach you accent acquisition skills. Okay. Accent acquisition skills are important because these are the skills that are required for learning any accent. Not just the one, let's say you want a, general American accent, you come to me and, sure, I will absolutely teach you that accent. But I will also, in the teaching of that accent, teach you how to learn any other accent that you ever want to learn. So, because those skills are foundational to being a successful accent actor. You have to be able to integrate it all together with your acting technique at some point as well. So that's a big part of what I do, accent acquisition skills. So what falls under those skills? What kind of technique are you likely to learn? We talk a lot about motivation. Why? Why are we here? What's our why in this work? What excites us? What inspires us? What's going to motivate us to be diligent and consistent in our practice with acts and these sorts of things? So a good coach is going to work with you on your why and how to stay motivated, even in the slog of technique, which is sometimes what I call the going to the gym part of accent work. How do we motivate ourselves and keep ourselves interested and inspired in those instances? You're going to learn a lot about awareness. This is everything, by the way, awareness. If you aren't aware, for instance, of your own accent and how you speak and use your vocal anatomy, you have no idea sort of where you're going to in your target accent if you don't know where you're starting from. That's the biggest thing. So being aware of your own accent, for instance, your own uses of vocal anatomy, habits, and things of that nature. But awareness of accents in general in the world, how language works, how speech is created, all sorts of stuff like that. This is the beginning of all of this. Because if we're not aware of the way this stuff works, we never have the opportunity to make a choice to alter it in any way that's useful for us in our careers. So awareness is foundational for all of this stuff. You'll probably be taught vocal anatomy, pretty important if we're talking about awareness and ability to alter it for accents. You'll learn the mechanics of speech. How is speech created? How is it put together? How do we use it as human beings? How do we alter it for ourselves? All sorts of stuff like that you'll learn. You'll learn flexibility. To think of this as mastery of your vocal tract. The ability to move it in ways that are different from the way that you move it in real life in your own home or preferred accent that you speak in every day. Flexibility is a big one for this. So building that skill is good. You'll learn how to research accents. Big one. Yeah, I see from time to time posts on this. So on the TMFA page, people saying, where do I go if I'm looking to do X, Y, and Z accent or things like that? And immediately I see a lot of people posting either a YouTube clip or the International Dialects of English Archive, those sorts of things. Those are all great starting places, but ultimately insufficient for fully realizing an accent. So you have to be able to know how to do your accent research to target authentic accents that we can rely on for the stories we're telling. You'll learn how to find a target accent speaker as part of that process, because we want to model ourselves off of real life human beings who actually speak the accents that we're targeting. Is a big important part. Yeah, because again, we need to definitely ensure authenticity as part of our process. So it's a pretty big deal that we make sure that we're using real human beings who speak in our target accent and who are typed essentially like us, so that we're taking on all those features in an authentic and respectful, curious and educational way. You may learn phonetics. This one that scares a lot of people. They hear International Phonetic Alphabet and they think back to a traumatizing experience in a college speech course where they were given some of the IPA and didn't, it wasn't a useful tool for them at that point, probably. I use the IPA all the time with clients, but you don't need to know it. It is but one tool for accent training and accent learning. I use it because I find it useful just to filter it in and out. And the clients I have that know it, it's a wonderful shorthand for us to be able to talk about sounds and shapes and how we're constructing those things in specific accents and speech, and also in analyzing authentic accent speakers, our accent targets that we find. You'll learn about, I mentioned this earlier, perspectives on accents and language in general. We have to start thinking about language a little bit differently. For instance, if you've ever heard somebody say, well, you need to speak proper English, I would say, well, proper for what? So, my basic, philosophy in this is accents and language are neither good nor bad. They're merely good for something, right? Really good for something. I'm seeing another question from AJ. What's a safe way to find people with a target accent, and how do you work with them to achieve progress? So that's a great question in terms of accent research. I would say, in terms of finding an actual human being that speaks in your target accent, you're going to, spend a lot of time on YouTube, Pinterest, the IDEA website, the International Dialects of English Archive. You may even poll your social group to find friends or family, somebody who actually speaks like this. And your dialect coach will absolutely have resources to help you target these things as well. And help you find authentic targets that fit the role or the story and the character that you're playing. If it's an actual human being who you know in real life, there's a great process your dialect coach can take you through in terms of how do I collect a sample of that person's voice so that I know I'm doing it in a way that's effective and respectful and curious and, wonderful in all these ways. So I would say, definitely lean heavily on your dialect coach for that one, because I collect accent samples for myself and my own library all the time. And so there's good ways to make sure that happens in a more useful way for you. So great question, AJ. Keep them coming. Let's see. That's about all I was going to say in terms of... No, I have a couple more things for what will you learn from your accent coach. Obviously, you're going to learn actual accents. But you're going to learn kind of... a good coach will probably work with you and agent and manager to kind of fit you for accents. We call these accent fittings or accent typings. Essentially, what accents am I most likely to be cast using based on my type and my branding and things like that. And then we want to make sure we have those accents in your back pocket so that when your agent and managers submit you for projects in those veins, you are raring and ready to go. And it just requires prep for the audition in that accent. So that's a big thing you'll learn. Let's see here. Here's what I wanted to talk about. This big one. Pretty big one. You heard me say earlier, everyone has an accent. Everybody speaks with an accent. So super important kind of thing to keep reminding ourselves of. You may have heard in your journey through this industry as you work in training, somebody may have said to you something like the following. Can you lose that accent? Is there any way to get rid of that accent? Can we do that? Something along those lines? Or you may have heard of a term called accent reduction. want to talk about this because I think it's a really important facet of our industry and what we do. When your agent or manager or casting director or whoever it is says to you, "Can we lose that accent? Can we get rid of that accent?" They don't mean in real life. They mean for this role, for this one audition, for this one scene. That's actually what they're talking about. Because the accent you speak in, we'll call this maybe your preferred accent, your home accent, native accent, that accent, right, is good for, again, roles that are like you that, require that accent. But, and frankly, it's a marketable skill. I guarantee your agents and managers do not want you to get rid of a marketable skill. They want you to keep that skill because someday they're going to call you in for an audition that requires your native accent, and you'll be able to do it better than anybody there because it's your accent and you own it already. And if you're working with a dialect coach, you're going to be able to modulate that accent actually more effectively than other people who just speak in this accent on a daily basis. So they're not asking you to get rid of your accent in real life. It's to expand your castability and your opportunities for casting, that they want you to acquire additional accents. I want you to gain additional accents. So if you're not from America, for instance, and you have an accented English from, whatever your native language is, or maybe you're English and English is your native language, but you have a British accent. These are all things that are wonderful and super marketable for you. But then we want to acquire maybe a general American accent or a couple of regional American accents that, open up your casting again in a lot of cool ways. So accent reduction, these sorts of things, that's what people are talking about. They just want you to gain more tools in your toolbox so they can, again, cast you more, you can get submitted more, and you can book more jobs. That is ultimately the goal. I want to expand all of that. Let's see here. That's about all I have on my notes, and I would love to open it up for a Q&A right now. So feel free to just shoot your questions down into the comments. I have a couple of things actually that just popped into my head, questions that I typically get asked a lot. One of the questions that almost everybody asks me right away is, how long does this take? How long does it take to learn an accent? How long does it take to master an accent? How long does it take to become an accent actor? Those sorts of things. And I think it's useful to kind of discuss that. I don't have probably what will be a very satisfying answer, but I do have an answer. And here's the answer. It depends. It really just depends. Like any artistic journey that you engage on, it's going to vary actor to actor, person to person. And it's going to depend on you working with your coach in a lot of different ways and things like that. But to learn accent acquisition skills and to master those, and then to learn your first accent, to actually learn the features of an accent, it doesn't take that long. Maybe a couple of sessions, 3-4 sessions maybe at most, to just go through all the specific sound features, physical features, musical and rhythm features, the people and all that this accent comes from. That doesn't take all that long. But to actually integrate that accent into your brain and your body, to learn it that way, and then before that, to learn those accent acquisition skills, that actually takes some time. So you're looking at weeks, months probably to do this. Think of it a little bit like a scene study class that you do. Or an acting class, an acting technique that you'd like to master. Think of it taking at least that long. It's almost like learning a martial art as well, in a way, because all the physical and mental connections that we have to make. So if you want to master a certain level of martial arts, that'll take a little while. So think of learning an accent and learning accent skills kind of in that way. Andrew White has a question. Thanks for chiming in, Andrew. Good to hear. Should you try to put an accent together for every role? That's a wonderful question. I've said now that because everybody speaks with an accent, every character you play also speaks with an accent. I'll just repeat this. Whether that accent is your accent, or completely different from your accent, that character will have an accent. Accent, I mentioned Pamela Vanderway earlier. She has a wonderful phrase that I'm going to appropriate from her, but it is like it sticks in my mind every time I hear her say it. Accent's a layer of storytelling. It tells us the story about who the people are and where they are and what they do in the world and where they come from and where they're going and who their social groups are. So that story is being told by accent in large part. So we have to look at the story that you're telling as the character. If you're auditioning for a role where it's very specific about time and place and, social group and things like that, yeah, then I think accent's absolutely appropriate. And hopefully the script is going to give you a lot of information about that kind of stuff as well. Read deeply into the script, you're going to get a lot of cool information about who, what, where, why, when, especially the where and the who part of it. When is also very important. For instance, if we're doing a period piece, let's say from the 1920s, and we need, British accents receive pronunciation. Those are actually going to be quite different than accents that we would see, say, from 1960 onward or even modern day receive pronunciation. So the when is definitely a big part of it. American accents, well, let's face it, all accents change all the time. They change every minute of every day, year to year. Language is constantly developing. So the when is a big part of this too. So I would say yes. I mean, especially if you can find and use accent work as an asset in your acting, as a way into character, a way into, how you want to find out and live authentically as this character. I'm a Meisner background, and so I immediately go to living truthfully under imaginary circumstances as my definition of acting. And if part of living truthfully is speaking the way that this actor speaks, that for me is going to be a huge deal in terms of being able to realize that. So yeah, I would say the answer is that was the long answer. Short answer is yes, absolutely. Try to use an accent for every role, which means that again, I think it's useful for you to have a good professional dialect coach on your team that can help you with those sorts of things, especially once you learn those accent acquisition skills, because then every subsequent accent you learn is going to go a little faster. It's going to be a little easier for you because you're going to master those skills more effectively. Great question, Andrew. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. So keep them coming, guys. These questions, loving answering them for you. Let's see. Another question I get asked a ton. So I talked about how long does the process take. Again, I'll repeat that. Think weeks and weeks, months probably is more likely to master your first accent, and then everything else beyond that again probably speed up because you'll have mastered a lot of the skill required. So the next question is, how much does this cost? All right, talk the nitty gritty here. All right. People get uncomfortable talking about money, but things cost money, and good things cost good money as well. And so every accent coach in the world is going to have a different set of rates and different kind of price points. But I'll say this. I am a member of a group of dialect coaches that has pledged to offer a sliding scale to actors, because there's a lot of variability built into this industry as we're living through right now. And so we want to be flexible for when the industry is sort of ebbing and flowing and those sorts of things. And so the way a sliding scale works is like, for instance, I have my usual hourly rate, and then it can slide down. There's obviously a floor that, and it'll slide down all the way to that if it needs to, but it's based on the client's current financial ability. And so I'm a member of a group. We pledged to be able to do this for the industry. And you have to talk to each individual coach to see if they have a sliding scale, what that sliding scale's actual numbers are and things like that. But I would be remiss if I didn't just describe to you what's out there in terms of pricing and what it's going to cost. But think of it a little bit like a really good acting studio that you study at as well. It usually will be comparable to those sorts of things, or private acting lessons, that kind of a thing. Some coaches do group lessons and classes, things like that as well. Those are often more cost effective, but the one-on-one is actually the really preferred way for this thing to happen online. Let's see. Let's see here. Any other questions? That's about all I have on my list. I'm going to give it maybe 10 or more seconds, 15, 20, 30 seconds, see if any other questions show up. I should say this, that this post is going to be live on the page, or not live. Once I'm done with the live part, it'll be posted here on the page. After you watch it, if you're watching this after it's been posted, if you have any questions, pop them into the comments here because I'll be circling back. I'll be able to answer your questions in the comments after you've watched this thing. So I'd love to be able to be available to you, even if it's not live. I mean, live. This is, the miracle of modern technology today. I guess that'll be it. I'm not sure I'm seeing questions. Let me just check one more time. Yeah, so that seems like I've gotten all the questions. So I'll just say this, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm here to help. I'm passionate about helping actors, making sure you guys get the kind of level of support and training that is needed to be successful in this business. I want all you guys to become powerhouse accent actors and to be able to take this business by storm. That's what I'm after. You guys can reach out to me anytime. Never ever feel weird about reaching out. I'll post my website and my email. Actually, just go to my website. All my contact is there. You can even just give me your information in my client intake there. Schedule a session there if you'd like to meet with me. Those kinds of things. So I'll put my website in there, but you should never feel weird about reaching out. I am here to help, and again, I want to make sure you guys get the support that you deserve and that you need to be successful here. I'd love to give another big shout out to Wendy. Definitely a mover and shaker in this business, and really, thank you so much for inviting me to come on and talk to a wonderful group of actors and artists. It's a privilege and an honor to be here and to speak with you guys. I'm going to sign off now, and I'm going to say, guys, go and enjoy your weekend. Think about accent training. Think about your why. Think about what you want to do and how ambitious you want to be in this business and how you want to grab it by the horns and kind of take it by storm. So reach out anytime. Ask questions again in the comments. I'll be sure to circle back and answer them as I see them. So have a great weekend, you guys. I'll be back probably next week or so for another one of these. We'll talk more accents. I guess that's it for me. So you guys have a great weekend. Take care.